Okay. Romans chapter 2. God's righteous judgment. Okay, so it implies that God has judgment on his people. People who judge others will be judged too. Meaning we're all sinners. This is how I understand it, is that we're all sinners. So, and sin is equal. There are some sins that are worse, but what it means is that we're all bad. Okay? It's not a case, okay, this person is committing one of the 7 deadly sins and therefore he deserves death more than us. No, that's not what it's saying. And what it's saying is that we're all sinners, so we cannot judge each other. But something that I want to keep in mind with this is that rebuking and judging are not the same thing. Calling each other out on our repetitive sins and keeping us in mind that maybe we need to speak less crude, or maybe we need to speak more in line with glorifying God. Maybe we need to choose not to laugh at certain things or watch certain things. Things like that. Reminding each other that we live for God is different from judging. Okay? So being angry with somebody because they keep doing something is not fair, because we keep sitting in our own way. Okay? And it's saying people who judge others, you condemn yourself. Because we will be judged for our indecency too. All people sin except for Jesus, so therefore nobody is an exception. We know that the judgment of God rightly falls on those who practice such things, as in anybody who is sinful is justly judged by God. So I understand that God does get angry with us for committing certain sin, but he doesn't hold it against us. He gets angry, he feels the emotion of it, but he doesn't just send us to hell even after we've received grace just because he's angry with us. He forgives us. We are seen as clean in his eyes, but he does judge those who repeatedly practice sinful acts. For example, if there is a specific sin that you repeatedly feel like you're bondagely trapped in, for example, maybe resentment towards somebody, or having sex with prostitutes, instead of helping them to get out of the industry, you are taking part in the industry. God does judge us for that. We judge people who do sinful things, but we also do those same sinful things. So what that means is not necessarily, because I know that there are certain things that I don't do, but I do know that I do struggle with bitterness and resentment toward people, toward situations. I do struggle with anxiety and fear, and that is also, I do struggle with procrastination, and that is awesome. Because the Bible does say, don't be idle and don't camp. And some days, some moments, I do go into a daydream, or I do linger in this state of, I'm allowed to be angry over this for months, where it's unnecessary, where you're supposed to just let it go. It says here, the riches of his kindness, forbearance, and patience. So I'm not too sure how that kind of connects to God judging us, but what I understood was the riches that come with him are kindness, forbearance, meaning to persevere, to push forward even though the situation is difficult, and to be patient, as in to wait it out with joyful heart. So whether it be corona, whether it be unemployment, to be patient, to push on, to wait out the season. But how I understand it is, if we're choosing God's way, we will feel his kindness, his forbearance, and his patience. and then we will show other people the same kindness, forbearance, and patience. So basically the alternative to judgment and to being angry with people for committing certain sin or for hurting us in a certain way is giving them kindness, giving them forbearance, as in waiting it out, being patient, persevering in the friendship, persevering with those prayers that you feel like aren't getting answered. They probably are, they're just probably getting answered in a way that you didn't see coming or that you didn't think of. And 2 years later you'll be like, oh my word, I actually had that prayer answered long ago, I just didn't know it. But also God's kindness, this one is something that stood out to me because I don't often think like this. Like I have moments in the week, so I don't do this daily, but I do this weekly, where I sit down with God in quiet time and I say, forgive me for this, forgive me for my lack of faith, forgive me for the bitterness that I have, take away the bitterness. So I know I'm carrying certain things, and I say out loud to Him what I feel toward who and why, so that I'm actually acknowledging and I'm processing. So it's like confession, but to God when no one else is around. And what is interesting is that this specific verse stood out for me because it said God's kindness and generosity is meant to lead us to repentance. And so essentially what it is He's being kind because we are sinners, and leads us to say we are sorry for doing this and this and this, for having these and these and these desires, for not having not strong enough faith, but for not trusting Him in that season. His kindness is supposed to lead us to repentance. But because of our hardened hearts, we store up wrath. And what the Bible is saying is that if you're storing up wrath towards somebody else, you're actually storing it against yourself. So you're storing up wrath against yourself. And it says that the judgment day, God's wrath on us will be revealed. And that is what I understand by He'll either send us up or He'll send us down. Based on our heart's intention. How that connects to how we treat other people because of judgment and how He treats us, I don't quite understand. In the sense of we can't send anybody to hell or heaven, and we can't choose where we go. But I think the idea is don't have a hardened heart. If you're angry about something, take it to God, tell Him. If you need to talk to the person that did whatever they did, do that. But do it in a loving way, because if you hurt somebody else unintentionally and they throw wrath at you, you're not going to like it. And so essentially what they're saying is don't judge others. You can tell somebody, I know that you have a pornography problem, and I do think you need to work on it. So if you are getting into a habit of watching, I encourage you to try not to talk to somebody, to spend time with God, whatever the case is. It is a habit, but the Bible also says our sin comes from a deeper heart issue, and that heart issue is only something that actually God can change. Otherwise it's just a habit you're choosing not to do. But is that actually a heart change, where you're not doing certain things for God, or you're not just doing certain things because you feel guilt over it? I think that there's a difference.